The attic smelled of old paper and dead things. Dust motes danced in a single beam of light from a grimy window, tiny ghosts swirling in the gloom. I came up here looking for old photo albums, something to remember Grandpa by. He was gone now, and the house felt wrong, every creak a sigh. My grandmother asked me to clear it out. She couldn't face the memories. This attic was a graveyard of memories, and I was disturbing the graves. I moved through the maze of shrouded furniture and slumped boxes. My flashlight swept over my mother's old school books, a broken rocking horse from my childhood, its painted eye accusing. Why had I left it here to rot? The air was thick, heavy in my lungs. I was just looking for photographs. Simple, happy pictures. But in the far corner behind a stack of old magazines, something caught my eye. It was solid, dark, and out of place. It looked heavy, important. I felt a strange pull as if it was calling to me, a low hum in the silence. I pushed aside a box of Christmas decorations. The glass ornaments rattled like tiny bones. The dust seemed to settle, waiting for what I would do next. I wasn't just cleaning out the attic anymore, I was about to uncover a story. And I had a sinking feeling it wasn't a happy one. The attic waited, silent and expectant. I took a breath and stepped toward the shadowed corner. Whatever was hidden here, it wanted to be found, and I couldn't turn back now. It was a trunk, large, dark green, metal with thick leather straps and heavy brass latches. It looked like something a soldier might use, but Grandpa was a carpenter, not a soldier. The trunk was concealed, not stored. My heart pounded as I ran my fingers over the cold, scratched surface. It was incredibly heavy. I had to drag it into the center of the room. The sound scraped through the attic, loud and violent. It felt like I was waking something up. Under the weak light, the trunk looked dangerous, out of place. No markings, no name, just dents and scratches, each a silent story. Where had it come from? I thought of Grandpa's quiet hands, always smelling of wood glue. I couldn't picture him with this cold, harsh metal. The trunk was a question mark in the middle of my family's history. We were a normal family, or so I thought, but this trunk suggested secrets. The silence pressed in, no longer peaceful but waiting. The trunk sat, unmoving, holding its secrets tightly. I knew with a chill that I had to open it. I had to know what was inside. My hands trembled as I knelt beside it. The attic seemed to hold its breath. I reached for the latches, heart pounding. This was no longer about cleaning, it was about truth, and I was ready to face it. Whatever it was, I would not leave until I knew. The latches were rusted shut, biting into my fingers as I struggled. It felt like the trunk was fighting me, resisting my efforts. Frustration and dread mixed in my chest. What was so important it needed to be locked away? I went downstairs for Grandpa's toolbox, tools for building, now for breaking. Back in the attic, the trunk seemed darker, more menacing. I wedged the screwdriver under the first latch and tapped with the hammer. Tap, tap, tap. The sound echoed like a countdown. I hit harder, the metal shrieked. With a final crack, the first latch sprang open. A puff of stale air escaped, camphor, metal, and something sweet. The scent was unfamiliar, yet it stirred something inside me. Loss, maybe, or fear. My hand hovered over the second latch. I was on the edge of a discovery, terrified of what I'd find but unable to stop. The attic seemed to close in, shadows deepening. I took a breath, steeling myself. This was no longer just about Grandpa. It was about the secrets we keep. And why. I pressed on, determined to see it through. The past was waiting just beneath the surface, and I was about to break it open. Whatever was inside, it would change everything. I knew that now. I attacked the second latch with determination. The secret was already bleeding out. The metallic smell grew stronger, clinging to the air. My breath was shallow, knuckles white. With a sharp crack, the second latch gave way. The lid was free. I hesitated, staring at it. The closed trunk was a mystery. The open one would be an answer. Slowly, I lifted the heavy lid. It groaned on its hinges. Light spilled inside, illuminating the contents. My first feeling was disappointment. No bones, no weapons, no money. Just a neatly folded military green wool blanket. I lifted it out. It was heavier than expected. Underneath, the metallic smell intensified. There was a small tin box decorated with faded poppies. It rattled softly when I picked it up. Not coins, something else. My heart pounded as I opened the lid. Inside, nestled on yellowed cotton, were 2 military dog tags on a thin silver chain. They weren't Grandpa's. The name stamped into the metal was unfamiliar. Thomas Riley. I stared at the name, cold metal in my palm. Why were these here? The attic was silent, waiting for me to understand. The first real clue. The secret was deeper than I'd imagined. Thomas Riley. The name meant nothing to me. The dog tags listed a serial number, blood type, and Catholic. Not our family's faith. These belonged to a stranger. Why were they in Grandpa's secret trunk? I set the tags aside and looked deeper. Beneath the tin box was a stack of letters tied with a faded blue ribbon. The handwriting was elegant, looping, a woman's hand. My grandmother's. The letters were addressed to Thomas Riley, postmarks from the early 60s, before my mother was born. My grandmother had written love letters to another man, a soldier. I untied the ribbon, hands trembling. The first letter began, "My dearest Tommy." It was full of passion, longing, and dreams of a future that never happened. My grandmother's secret love, hidden in plain sight. And my grandfather had kept them, locked away in this trunk, a museum of his wife's other life. I felt like an intruder reading someone else's heartache, but I couldn't stop. The truth was unraveling, one letter at a time. The attic felt colder, the shadows deeper. My family's story was not what I thought. The past was alive, whispering from the pages. I read on, searching for answers. Who was Thomas Riley? What happened to him? And why did Grandpa keep these mementos? The secret was bigger than I'd ever imagined, and I was only at the beginning. My hands shook as I put the letter down. My grandmother, the bedrock of our family, had a secret love. I found a small black and white photograph at the bottom of the stack. A young man in uniform, handsome, serious, not my grandfather. On the back, in my grandmother's handwriting, "My Tommy, 1963. This was Thomas Riley, the man she loved, the man whose dog tags lay on the floor. Suddenly, small things made sense. The sadness in my grandmother's eyes, my grandfather's quietness. Was he guarding a secret? Living with the knowledge of this other man? The attic was thick with unanswered questions. Why did Grandpa keep these? It was a wound he never let heal. The quiet carpenter I knew was suddenly a much sadder, more complex figure. He wasn't just quiet, he was haunted. I thought the secrets ended there. I was wrong. At the bottom of the trunk was a thick, sealed manila envelope. My curiosity was now dread. I tore it open. Inside were official documents. The first was a birth certificate from 1964. Mother Catherine Miller, my grandmother's maiden name, father blank. The child's name, Sarah Miller. I didn't know any Sarah. My mother's name is Elizabeth. I found adoption papers for Sarah Miller, adopted by strangers. My grandmother had a daughter she gave away. Then, my mother's birth certificate, Elizabeth, born 1966. Mother Catherine, father David, my grandfather. But in the margin, in Grandpa's shaky handwriting, was a single word. Thomas. He had written the name of the other man on his own daughter's birth certificate. A desperate, silent claim. The truth hit me like a wave. My mother was not my grandfather's biological child. Thomas Riley was her father. The trunk wasn't just about lost love, it was about identity, sacrifice, and secrets kept for a lifetime. My family's story was rewritten in a single, trembling line of ink. The attic was no longer just a place of dust and forgotten things. It was the heart of everything I thought I knew, and everything I never imagined. The secret was out, and nothing would ever be the same. I sat in silence, the truth settling around me. The attic spun around me as the pieces clicked into place. My grandfather wasn't my mother's biological father, Thomas Riley was. Grandpa had raised another man's child as his own, loving her without question. The trunk wasn't a collection of pain, it was evidence, a monument to his sacrifice. He kept the secret not to hide it, but to protect his family. He absorbed the pain so they wouldn't have to. He lived with the ghost of Thomas Riley, never saying a word. My love for him deepened, mixed with sadness for the life he lived. He was more than a quiet carpenter, he was a man of honor. The trunk was not a tomb, but a testament. He kept his promise to the woman he loved. He kept the family whole. The truth was heavy, but it was also a gift. I understood him now, in a way I never had before. The attic was no longer a graveyard, it was a monument to love and sacrifice. Grandpa's secret was safe, and so was our family. I sat in the attic until the light faded. I put everything back in the trunk, the letters, photograph, dog tags, birth certificates. I left the latches open. The secret couldn't be locked away again. The trunk was now part of our story. The house was the same, but I was different. The family photos on the wall looked different, no longer simple but layered with sacrifice and love. I never told my grandmother what I found. Her secret is safe, but I told my mother. There were tears, shock, and finally understanding. She saw the quiet sadness in her mother, the unwavering love from her father. The secret had been a burden for Grandpa. For us, it was a gift. It made our family stronger. It revealed the foundation of love and sacrifice beneath everything. I understood now family is more than blood. It's the love we choose, the secrets we keep, and the sacrifices we make. Grandpa's final gift was the truth. And it changed everything. The silence in the house was no longer empty, it was full of love.